Happy Gay Pride Month! It is June! The Tonys, Sarah Bareilles and Josh Groban hosting were fantastic. They were so irreverent, and that first song I thought just like nailed exactly how I feel about the Tonys, which is it doesn't really matter. Everyone wins. It's like if you're a loser, you're a winner. So I just love that. These two very talented people have never won anything. A few things I do want to say about this year's Tony season. Now, you know, I'm a Broadway fan. I mean, I am the Broadway life coach, a Broadway actor, but this season was a bit of a bummer. Like when you think about the shows that opened, it's just all so commercial, and the band's visit really, to me, was the shoe-in, and I am not surprised at all that it won. And of course, Harry Potter, like who can compete with that? But it's fascinating to me where Broadway's headed when you think about the shows that are coming now. You've got the Cher show, you've got this Head Over Heels, you've got all these like reviews, the Donna Summer musical. It's an interesting season. So the Tonys to me was a bit anticlimactic in that way, but I always love watching because I get to see my friends perform. I get to see people that I just adore do their thing on national television. So cool. That's the end of my Tony conversation. The plan was to be a continuation of last week's video, which is talking about our trip to Walt Disney World. And here's a couple tricks that I've learned that I will always do every time I go. Number one, I always stay on Disney property. Sometimes it costs more, but you get so much more bang for your buck. So we stayed at the Art of Animation. And the Art of Animation is one of the newest resorts that they have, even though it's on some of the oldest property that they've had, because it opened next to the Pop Century Resort. It's considered a value resort. The nice thing about staying on Disney property, as most of you know, is you get the extra magic hours, which is every park is open for a certain early or late, depending on the day, for resort guests only. Now, when I first became a big Disney fan and I would go, this was 20 years ago, nobody ever was at the parks and took advantage of this, and now everybody does. So it does get still pretty crowded, even with the extra magic hours. So you do still want to kind of get there early depending on what your options are. That's number one reason to stay at a Disney property. And then number two is they have their public transportation. Now here's what I'm gonna tell you about that. I am not a fan of Disney's transportation system. I think it actually sucks. And maybe it's because I live in New York City and I'm used to like efficient transport. When you're staying at a value resort or a moderate resort, you're dealing with a larger number of people staying in those hotels, and that means the buses take longer to get to and from. You will wait 20 minutes after a long day in the park, standing on your feet, walking around the park all day. The last thing I want to do is sit there and wait for a crowded bus to show up to take me back to my hotel, which then even once you're, like this happened to us at Art of Animation, once you're at the hotel, you then have to walk 2 miles to get to your room. And one night, our magic bands wouldn't unlock our door. We had to call front desk, they had to send a maintenance person. We sat outside for an hour waiting for somebody to come let us in because I was not gonna walk another mile to go back to the front desk. We rent a car every time we go to Orlando, and here's the benefits of that. Now it used to be parking was free at resorts, now you have to pay. But you pay one price for per day or per night, and that actually includes your parking to all of the parks. The nice thing about that is you don't have to wait for some bus or for the monorail. Well, you have to get to the transportation center, but you don't have to wait for some stupid, slow bus to show up. You can just hop in your car and you can go home. And here's the other thing for those that are budget conscious, which you know, sometimes I am, is you can actually then use your car and drive 5 minutes off property to get a $4 Dunkin' Donuts breakfast sandwich instead of spending $16 on breakfast at the hotel food court. So if you're looking for a way to save some money, you actually end up saving money in the long run by renting the car. Car rentals in Orlando are really cheap. If I were you, that's my little like way around their transportation system, which, ugh. Sorry, Disney, you gotta work on that. Now, I do know they're building a new Skyway, right? And I forget, they're calling them Magic Buckets or something. And in fact, when we stayed at the Art of Animation, right outside our room is where they're building one of the Skyway systems. It looks like it's gonna be really cool because it's gonna connect you to Art of Animation, Pop Century. It's gonna connect you to Hollywood Studios. I think Epcot plus a couple resorts, including a new resort that hasn't been built yet. Maybe that'll help lessen the load on the buses, but my speculation is that because Disney fans love something new, that the lines for the Skyway or this Magic Bucket or whatever they call it is gonna be huge. It will be a faster way to get to and from some of these places, but I still think renting a car is awesome. It's not the greenest way to go, and I am pretty green, but it saves you so much time and energy just to be able to hop in your car after the park and not have to wait for those buses. The food at the Art of Animation, because they make it all right there, really fresh, was really, really, really good. I was super impressed by that. And then of course it's beautiful in that it's themed in the idea that it's an animator's palette. You walk in, there's the ink and paint department, there's the landscape department, and then you walk out into the pool and you're actually in the movies. I think that theming is really cool. I did not try the pool, even though we kept talking about it. It did rain pretty much every day we were there. And to be honest, the big blue pool, which is the Finding Nemo pool, that's like the main pool, was always so crowded, and Steven gets a little creeped out by kids in pools because one time at Grand Californian, a kid dropped a turd in the pool, and ever since then he's been traumatized. Poor Steven. I would say for the value resorts are actually the best bang for your buck if you're gonna go to a Disney resort. Rent a car, it'll save you time, and the Art of Animation was a nice selection because it's new and it's fresh. But we stayed at sports and we've stayed at music, and both were great. If you're trying to save some money, that's the best option. What are your favorite resorts at Disney? What do you like about the value resorts, if anything? And do you agree about the Disney transportation system? I'm not a fan, boo. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, share with your friends, and maybe we'll all just meet up at Disney one of these days. I would love to see you guys there.